people are going to be scared to buy coaching at first. This is something I've been working on recently, is kind of getting back down on their level where this might be the first time they've ever bought in coaching. And as coaches, we've bought coaching 100 times, so many times in our life. And so we don't have a problem investing as much. But if we think back to the very first coaching investment we made, we were so scared. And so it's been so helpful for me to think about that it's not a problem that these people are scared. It is completely normal. And when you normalize it for the people, then they feel less scared.
Hello, I'm Debbie Shadid, the host of the Life Coach Business Building Podcast. If you are ready to have more clients in your life coach business, then you're in the right spot. Each week, I'm going to teach you super simple strategies to grow your business without feeling overwhelmed and without spending money on paid ads. Now, if that sounds interesting, stick around and let's get started. Welcome to today's podcast. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you. Seriously, thank you for listening to the podcast. I have had the opportunity to talk with so many people recently who have listened to the podcast. Some people listen to every podcast. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for your continued support. Anyway, that's it. I just wanted to say that. Please connect with me on social media. Join my Canva workshop. Follow me. I would love to get to know you. All right, let's get started with today's podcast. I am introducing you to another client. I want you to meet Amber. Amber is a binge eating and overeating coach. And we're going to talk about her business. We're going to talk about her work with me. So let's get started. Amber, introduce yourself.
Hi, Debbie. Yes, my name is Amber. I am a binge eating and overeating coach, like Debbie said. I help women who want to feel more normal and in control around food. I do this because I struggled with both binge eating and overeating myself, and I really had a hard time finding the balance with food. And it really is my passion to help people get out of that food struggle.
All right. So tell a little bit more about that, because I think binge eating and identifying maybe as a binge eater, I guess some people know that they are, but talk about your journey. Did you meet with a coach? How did you identify as a binge eater, and what was your journey out of binge eating?
Yeah, so I first started with a lot of restriction around food. I was cutting my calories very, very low. I just wanted to lose weight really quickly. And my body rebelled against me, and it was doing what healthy bodies do and asked for more food. And I was getting these really strong urges around food. I was so confused on what was happening and why I couldn't just get control over these cravings and just eat how I wanted to be eating. And I just thought I was going crazy. So I started researching on Google, the first place everyone goes to, what is going on? Why am I eating so much food? Why can't I stick to this diet? And that's kind of when I learned that binge eating was a thing, and that what was happening was just a normal biological reaction to restriction. And that's when my bulimia started as well. So I did struggle with bulimia for a few years, and I went to therapy for that, and it was really helpful with the purging aspect, but it never helped me with the binge eating part of it. I just didn't really understand the approaches and methods they used in therapy very much. And so that led me to this journey of trying to find the solution for binge eating, because I had known it was a thing. I knew that other people must have struggled with it too. I knew there was other people on the internet that I had Googled that had wrote about their stories as well. And so that's what led me into coaching, is just the fact that everything I was trying, all the tips from Google of eating more protein, drinking more water, sleeping more, calling a friend when I got cravings, none of those things were working. So I felt almost forced into coaching, because I was like, this is my last resort. This is something I have to try that I haven't tried yet.
Interesting. So you did not know anyone personally that was a binge eater. And I'm sure you and your girlfriends, or male, female friends, whatever, did not talk about binging.
Right. I always joke and say, it's not something you go tell your neighbor about the morning after. Oh, I just binged on, 3 boxes of cookie last night. It was definitely something I kept to myself for many years. I later learned when I started being a coach and sharing my story that some of my best friends were actually struggling with the exact same things that I was during that time, which is so crazy, but we just didn't tell each other. We just kept it to ourselves. And I think I always had a hint that they were struggling with food too, but it was definitely something that I dealt with alone for most of my journey. And I think most people do too, which makes it so much harder to deal with because then there's so much shame and guilt and hiding around it.
So why was coaching the difference? Tell me the approach that coaching took compared to therapy.
Coaching taught me that there was nothing wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
that I had just formed essentially a bad habit. And taking that approach really changed everything for me because a lot of times in the therapy world, it is looked at, I mean, it is an eating disorder, but you kind of feel like there's something wrong with me and I'm just going to struggle with this for the rest of my life. And poor me, I just have to manage all of these thoughts about food forever and I'm never going to fully recover and overcome this. Whereas in the coaching world, it was like, oh yeah, we're just going to change some thoughts. We're going to rewire your brain so you stop acting on these urges and you can just become a normal eater again. And that concept to me was totally life-changing because it really simplified things. It didn't seem like this giant psychological problem I had. It was just, oh, okay, this is just a bad habit. I just need to stop doing it essentially, which sounds so much easier said than done. But that's essentially what you're doing is just learning how to not act on those urges and learning how to change those thoughts step by step. So you can literally change your brain to a entirely different brain that doesn't binge eat or overeat.
Wow. So did you work with more than one coach or was it just one coach that took you on the journey?
I did. I started with the binge eating coach way back in 2016. And it was a very short program. It was like 8 weeks. And that did help me for a little bit. But as I continued my journey, I realized there was a lot of underlying thoughts about food still happening that really needed unearthed. So then I worked with a weight loss coach, which gave me some new tools, but also wasn't the most helpful thing. And I think a lot of people start searching out for weight loss coaches when they're struggling with these type of things, because when you're binge eating, you're probably gaining weight. And that is like your biggest fear as a binge eater is like, oh my God, I need to restrict. I need to go back on the diet because now I'm gaining weight. So you look for all the weight loss solutions, which is very counterintuitive. And like, it seems like it might work, but it really backfires on your goals because the more you restrict, the more you're going to binge. So I started working with the weight loss coach, but I kind of learned, okay, some of these things are working for me and some of them aren't. And then I kind of took it upon myself to go look out other methods and read books and podcasts and scour the internet some more and really just come across more ideas, more solutions, and start to implement what I learned around weight loss to help me have a healthier relationship with food, which is what I really needed to be working on.
Wow. Okay. One of the things when you started working with me that I was really interested in is that you were really against mentioning losing weight. And now I can understand, and I'm sure everybody can understand that, the reason for that. So let's talk about overeating and binge eating, that kind of coaching that you do. How do you do that and who do you work with?
Yeah, so I work with people one-on-one in a very hands-on approach. And I don't call myself a weight loss coach because of that reason. I don't want people who are only wanting the weight loss. But the thing is, when we start working on these habits, you'll start by binge eating and then you kind of land in overeating territory, which is why I say I do both, because I found myself in I wasn't really binge eating anymore, but I was still overeating and I wasn't sure how to get to the normal natural eater. But once you get to overeating territory and you start to conquer that, you overall are starting to eat less food, right? So it's more balanced. We go from eating 800 calories in the day and 3,000 calories at night to all of a sudden just eating a nice, even 2,000 calories throughout the day. And so when you make that shift, a lot of people do end up losing weight with me, but it's not our primary focus. We really focus on learning how to eat foods in moderation, how to eat them in amounts that feel good for your body, how to listen to your hunger and fullness, how to deal with these urges, how to feel more confident in your body and kind of disconnect that weight loss goal. So it's not your main goal, but maybe just something that would be nice in the background, like a cherry on top. So I work with people for 6 months because I found that's about how long we need to change these habits. A lot of times people come in and think, I've been doing this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Can I really do this in 6 months? And amazingly, the answer is yes. And a lot of people actually get results in 2 to 3 months. But what's really nice is then we work on maintaining your progress, which I think a lot of the shorter programs miss out on is they don't stick with you to maintain the new progress you've made, and then you go back to your old habits. So I really pride myself on making sure that my clients feel good about these new eating habits they've implemented so they can keep making progress after we're done.
Do you find that binge eating has some seasonality to it? Like winter, holidays, cookies, pumpkin pie, summer, I don't know.
I think yes and no. Of course, when the holiday season comes around, that tends to be more of a panic season because usually you have more of these foods that you're fearful of coming in without your will. So you go over to someone's house and they send you with 50 cookies, and that's a binge eater's worst nightmare because now you're surrounded by a whole bunch of food that you could just eat in one sitting, really. And so I think the holidays can be a more difficult time. But if you're truly struggling with this, your habits don't just magically disappear because summer is coming up or the holidays are over. It really is a year-round thing. There might just be different triggers that are a bit harder depending on the time of year.
All right, let's talk a moment about business, and then we'll get back to what your coaching superpowers are and all that. Tell me what brought you to me.
So I came to you because someone had recommended me to you, and I looked into you more. And what I loved about your approach is that you weren't just all mindset. Yes, mindset is super duper important, but I think as coaches, especially, we know mindset. Like that's what we do best. We do the mindset piece the best. And what I needed was more instructions, more directions. I've always been kind of the teacher's pet, and I really like a step-by-step plan, knowing exactly what to do, feeling very seen. And it seemed like that was exactly what you did. So it sounded like a really good fit for me. And I just wanted someone to guide me a bit more on the actions.
So I want to tell the coaches that are listening about the journey of a client, because Amber's journey is interesting. We are recording this in September of 2023. I had my first consultation with Amber, I believe in August of 2022, and you were in Copenhagen, maybe. And then I did not talk to Amber again. So she was traveling. That's one of Amber's values and something that, gosh, is really inspiring for people who do overeat and binge eat is you're able to travel the world and enjoy the food, enjoy, having an amazing life and not binging. But we had that conversation and you said, I just don't feel like the time's right because of, your travels and all that. And I guess maybe the intensity of what we were going to do together. And basically it was a no, not now. I didn't think anything about it. And in February of 2023, so from August to February, you ended up back on my calendar. And so I just want you guys that are listening to make note of that Amber was never a no to me. Although it was a not now, it really was a no. In my mind, everybody is still a possibility. I didn't give up on thinking about Amber. She was on my mind. I wasn't pestering her. I don't know if I even reached out to you in between. Sometimes I do. But it's just good to note that when you think nothing is working out and your consultations are not converting, that is not necessarily what's happening. The timing just wasn't right. So when you came in February, what did you need at that point?
Yeah. And I really like to use myself as an example when I am on a consult with a person because it truly was not the right time for me. If I would have worked with you then, I don't think I would have been as successful as I am now. And it really stood out to me that you trusted that decision. And you were just like, oh yeah, no problems. When you're ready, I'm here for you. And I was like, that is great. I did end up working with another coach in between my consultation call with Debbie and the time where we started working together. And I got a lot from her. She was an amazing coach. But I knew I still wanted to work with Debbie because I was really intrigued by all of these processes she was teaching, all of these tools she was giving. Of course, all of her Canva tools that are amazing and are just set up and ready for you to go. So I ended up seeing an email from Debbie talking about her program, and I was really intrigued. And I was like, you know what? I'm in, we're doing it. And I'm really glad that I did wait just because I was traveling and I really was not in a great mindset at that time. I was really struggling with making friends in the new city, trying to get adjusted to that life there. So by the time I came to you, I felt fully ready to take any action you suggested to me to implement in my business.
I want to point out something else that she just said. I think a coach's worst nightmare is if you don't get them, what if they go work with somebody else? And that's exactly what happened. She had a consultation with somebody else, and I don't know what the timing was, but she actually hired another coach and she still came back. So I'm not bragging on myself. I just want you guys that are listening to notice that nothing went wrong in any of that. In fact, when she came back to me and she told me what she was doing, what this other coach had done, I said, great, that is not what I do. And whatever she has told you that works, you should continue. I mean, I don't want to take away from what somebody else has taught you. There's many ways to get to the end result. So what have you taken away from our coaching?
I think one of the main things that really stood out to me through this time is that although there's no right way to run a business, there's a lot of strategies and structure that can make it easier for you. And I've always heard people say, you can run a business a million different ways and it'll all work out. But I really liked that I was able to get a clear path to how to run a business, and then I can change it to how it works for me. So something I started doing while working with Debbie is doing coffee chats. And that is like my free weekly training that I do with people over Zoom, but I make it very casual. I don't love doing the big slideshow and the presentation. I really like just talking and connecting with people. And so that was an example of something where I knew doing live events worked and I could see the results of them, but I wanted to do it in a way that also felt aligned with me and what I wanted to do. And by doing that, it really helped my business because I got 2 or 3 clients from doing those coffee chats just because I was able to show up so fully and so present and so happily and not like, I have to do this workshop, I don't want to do it. Another takeaway that I had is that people are going to be scared to buy coaching at first. This is something I've been working on recently, is kind of getting back down on their level where this might be the first time they've ever bought in coaching. And as coaches, we've bought coaching 100 times, so many times in our life. And so we don't have a problem investing as much. But if we think back to the very first coaching investment we made, we were so scared. And so it's been so helpful for me to think about that it's not a problem that these people are scared. It is completely normal. And when you normalize it for the people, then they feel less scared. They know that they're not being crazy because they're scared to invest. It's just how our brain works. And it is scary to invest at first.
Well, and that they might need time to make a decision. That also doesn't mean anything's gone wrong.
Right.
So I know we recently had a conversation about, you had multiple consults and about, what should you do? And I think it's fair to say that following up with people and making sure that there isn't unanswered questions and giving people the grace and the space to be able to make a decision that's best for them is something that works and something that you tried to do this time.
Your Loom videos have been life-changing. When you send someone a Loom video after a consult, it doesn't even matter what you're saying. I've learned you can say whatever you want in that video. It's the fact that they got a video from you talking more about what you talked about on the consultation. It really does sink into their mind of like, okay, this woman really can help me. She really does have a process. She really was listening to me on this call, and I haven't felt listened to in years. And this is really nice. So those have been huge for me too, is in a follow-up email, doing the Loom videos and really just continuing to check in with them, asking, like you said, do you have any more questions? I just had a consultation call yesterday, actually, and I asked her, do you have any more questions? Like 3 different times. And every time she had more questions. Then she'd ask a question. She'd say, no, I think that's all. And she'd go, well, actually, I do have one more. And so learning that like people have questions. So make sure you're open to them and you're asking them about that.
Yeah. And I think what's coming up for me right now is even to say on a future consult, these are typically the questions that people ask me. And if they don't have questions, you approach it that way. Like sometimes people ask me this as a follow-up question. I just wanted to offer this. Maybe this is something that you're thinking about. So if they're not just a yes on the spot, maybe you introduce the questions that people typically come up with.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I can't help but coach on these calls. All right. So tell me what your plans are for your business in the near future. What are you hoping to do to grow your business?
I'm continuing on doing one-on-one for quite a while and really just continuing to support those people and growing that one-on-one aspect. I want to keep doing my workshops and events on Zoom. I have a Facebook group, so continuing to build and nurture those people. I've just started doing email marketing in the past few months, thanks to Debbie's help. And I want to continue doing that. Eventually, I do want to start a group. I think that's most people's goal. And while I was with Debbie in the beginning, I was actually in the process of launching my first group. It did not go how I planned it to go, and that was okay. I learned a ton from it, took away a lot of valuable lessons. One of them being stick with one-on-one until you are really sure that you have a lot of people lined up ready for a group. And that's what I want to focus on because I do love one-on-one and I do want to continue supporting people in that way until I really can't anymore.
And the beautiful part about you designing that group program and those emails is that number one, it's ready to go when you are fully booked and basically waitlisting people and it's time. But the other thing is, I'm sure that it actually helped you with your regular coaching because it basically forced you to sort of create a system for what your coaching would be like. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it definitely helped me refine my processes down a bit more and think about, okay, when someone does become a client, what is the process I take them through? And do I like this process? Do I want to be taking people through this process? Is there anything I want to change about it? And it really did help me think about my structure and what I want to continue to do, what I want to leave behind. So definitely it helped me refine my one-on-one a bit more too.
So you mentioned mindset, and I want to talk about that a little bit, if that's okay with you. When I started my coaching business many years ago, mindset was not part of what I worried about. I thought about the power of positive thinking and like just grab a mantra and slap it on and let's go. Just push through, push through. When I got, I don't know, a few years ago, I thought, mindset really is an issue. I was introduced to life coaching. I was being coached myself. I could see the difference between trying to force yourself to believe something and really getting to the bottom of where the gap was and finding something that you could actually believe. I think that's one of the things a lot of coaches are like, I'm $1 million coach. And they know they're not. Like, they don't even believe it, right? It's like, it's possible I could make and enter in a different number than $1 million. So with that said, I went to the life coach school to get certified for mindset. Turns out I don't want to do mindset coaching, but I knew that it was a super important part of my future business success. So as part of the Business Building Boutique, we do mindset coaching, and we have a fabulous mindset coach, Thais. One of my concerns as I take you through so much action of building a business is that there will be mindset blocks that come up, and I want to make sure that you don't get stuck. And so Thais enters into the picture. Do you want to talk about your coaching with Thais?
Yes, I love Thais so much. I hope you never get rid of her because she is truly an amazing coach. And I would not be able to take all the actions that Debbie is suggesting without that mindset piece. Yeah. Because yes, we know mindset is important. And yes, we usually go to Debbie because we like those actions. But without that mindset piece, it is really hard to stick with what we want to do. And Debbie's, I think your superpower is having amazing, brilliant, thousands of ideas to give to people. And then it's like sorting through them and taking them in and making sure that you implement them and you don't get overwhelmed. Yeah. And that's what Thais really does is she really just takes things down, takes them apart, make sure it works for you. She was actually the one who helped me figure out doing the coffee chats, right? I heard from you. You're like, let's do these live events. Let's do the workshops. And I was like, great, awesome. And I was like, ooh, something is not feeling motivating in me. Like, what is this? And I talked to Thais about it. And then she was like, just make it easy. Like, what do you want to do? And that's where I came up with the coffee chats idea. So I think you two together are a really great team and work together really well to create such an amazing program.
Yeah, let's restate that. I won't be getting rid of Thais. Let's hope Thais stays with me forever. So it really is a fantastic benefit because I don't want anyone to invest money with me to grow their business and not get results. So that's why Thais is there, is to step in and ensure that you don't get stuck, because my way is not always going to be your way. Like you said, you didn't want to do the workshops the way that I had done them. And the thing is really you're doing workshops. They're just in your way, and they really are creating the same results for you.
Exactly.
All right. Let's talk about your coaching superpower since you mentioned mine. What do you think that is?
I think mine is I have a really great ability to make things lighthearted and fun when they're normally really shame-filled and heavy, especially when we talk about binge eating. it is kind of nice to have a lightness about it because we've been in the dark and it feels so heavy carrying it alone for so long. And of course, there are times where we do have to get to the heavy, dark parts. But I think the ability to have someone there for you who has gone through it themselves and just be very honest with their story. I am always talking about my journey when I went through binge eating and how I came out of it with my clients. And so I really just make it like more of a friendship than probably I should a lot of the times because I really do care about these people. And I think the ability to just take it easy sometime and just talk to it like you were talking to a friend can really be so powerful in that situation.
Yeah. So why should somebody get this fixed? Why should somebody hire you?
Yeah. So a lot of people will try therapy first. That is where they usually go to. That is what the internet suggests. And it's not a bad place to go to. Therapy is great for a lot of different reasons. But what I think is nice about coaching with someone like me is that I have been there. I have walked the walk, talked the talk. Like I have literally been in every single step that you have been, dealt with so many of my own food issues. So nothing you say ever sounds crazy to me. Nothing you say, I'm like, oh my gosh, you do that? Like, I can't believe you are eating like that. I'm like, oh, well, of course you are. Like, I've been there too, and I've done it. And that is just really nice to have. And I really do walk my clients through step by step exactly what I did in a much more concrete and clear way that I have figured out because my journey was very random. I worked with a lot of different coaches, did a lot of different methods. So having like that step-by-step plan is going to get you to where you want to be a lot faster and easier than if you were to try it on your own. And I also, because I do the mindset work, we're doing internal brain changes. We are literally rewiring your brain so that way you don't have to be struggling with these food thoughts all day. You won't be struggling forever. You're not just taking a quick fix. You're not just trying to go for a walk, call a friend, take a bubble bath, all those things that like are commonly suggested for binge eating. Yes, those are great strategies, but we really want to make sure we're doing the deep mindset work too. So that way you can have these changes be permanent.
What does life look like on the other side of binge eating?
It's great. I mean, when you're binge eating and just struggling with food in general, you are thinking about it all day long. And I actually recently put a poll on my Instagram story asking on average how long people spend thinking about food. And about a third of people, it was over 4 hours a day. And a third of people were 2 to 3 hours a day. So, like, if you think about if you are someone who's in the category of food is on your mind 4+ hours a day, if you get that down to a more reasonable amount, which is like, I don't know, 20 to 40 minutes a day for me now when I'm usually hungry, that's when I think about it. What happens is your life opens up so much more so you can do the things you want to do. So now I'm able to travel and actually enjoy those experiences, be with my friends, be with my family, go around to different restaurants without stressing the whole time about what I'm going to eat. I'm able to work out with enjoyment and pleasure because I'm not just beating myself up the whole time for what I ate. I feel so much better. I have so much energy. My digestion's improved. It really does impact every area of your life. Your relationships, like I was so mean when I was a binge eater because I would take up my frustration on everyone else. They wouldn't know I was mad at them. It was just I was so mad at myself for what I'd eaten last night. So it really does hit every area. And once you have that figured out, so much life just opens up to you and you can actually start living and doing the things you really want to be doing.
Oh, beautifully said. I want to point out that Amber has a niche that is ideal for her. For you guys who have niche drama, she's just given a story that she knows so deeply. She doesn't need to study, right? She's experienced it. She's had her own coaching in it. She can talk about it night and day, which means that she can relate to her client. It's the same thing as me with business. I have been in every stage, in every place. Everybody has been in. Nothing that anybody says to me that they want to do or don't want to do or aren't doing is a surprise, just like what Amber said. That is how you know you've landed on a niche that works, is you really do know it. So if you find yourself wanting to pick what I call a fluffy niche, that's like the newest thing, it's probably not something that's going to work. So Amber, you can tell by the way you talk about your eating history and all that you tried to do to solve it and you finally landed on now, I can say confidently you would be able to help anyone no matter where they are because you've been through all those stages. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
my journey is a little different in the sense that I didn't decide to become a coach first and then decide, well, what am I going to coach
Yes.
on? I
Yes.
knew exactly what I wanted to help people with. And then it was like, okay, well, how do I coach them on it? So it was kind of reverse. And I know a lot of people start out with, wow, coaching is so great. Like it's helped me in 100 different areas. What area do I want to do? I knew specifically that coaching was super helpful for me. And I knew exactly that it was helping me in my eating. So I knew what it had helped me accomplish. I knew the results it was getting me in that area. So that's how I just inherently knew that was what I was going to be coaching on.
That is such a great point. There are many people that think coaching is a career that's going to make them a lot of money. It's going to be super easy. And like, I'm just going to be a coach. But the fact that you had been through that whole journey, same way with me, I wasn't going to be a business coach. I had built a business. I had done all those things multiple times over. So it's kind of a different approach. All right. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to mention about our work together? Anything else you want to mention about your coaching that we haven't already covered?
I'll just say that Debbie has been such a blessing in my life. I am so thankful I came across you because I really feel like you are my business mom in the best way. The person that I want to guide me through everything with so much wisdom, so much knowledge, so much caring vibes to you. Just very, you're there for everyone when they need you. You never make anyone feel like they're wrong for asking you a question or you're asking too many questions. Like anything they need, you are truly there to help. And so I fully endorse Debbie. I think she is amazing. I would highly recommend her program. I think it was exactly everything I needed when I came to her and more. And yeah, I couldn't recommend it more.
Thank you. Now, how about you wrap up for you? Why should somebody be on a consultation with you today, grabbing your freebie? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website at theconfidenteater.org. That's where you can find a little bit more about me, my program. I do have free consultation calls. So if you are interested in working with me, you can go set one up today. I do have spots open, so you are able to get started with me as soon as possible. Yeah. And then you can also find me on Instagram at The Confident Eater. That is where I have most of my content. I also have a Facebook group called Become a Confident Eater, so you can find me there as well.
And we'll leave all those links in the show notes so you guys can get to them easily. Last thing before I wrap up, I am hosting the Design, Live, Thrive Summit, January 12th and 13th, and Amber is going to be one of our speakers. So I'm super excited. If you guys want to make, I know this is way ahead of time, but if you want to make 2024 amazing, just keep your eyes out looking for the Design, Live, Thrive Summit marketing because Amber's going to be one of our headliner speakers. We're excited that you're going to share more about overcoming binge eating and provide a great opportunity for people to start 2024 in a great way. Amber, thank you for being my client. I appreciate you so much. Thank you more than that for the work that you do for your clients. And that's it, guys. I appreciate you. Have an amazing week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, ladies, that is it for today. Before we go, I want to invite you to head over to debbieshadid.com. I have this incredible Canva training specifically designed for life coaches where I'm going to teach you how to use Canva to create beautiful graphics to market your life coaching business. All right, have an amazing week. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.